time, the less privileged or not too informed citizens will want to heap the blame of the national crisis we face, be it economical, the insecurity and all, heap it on the executives and also on the man at the helm of their affairs. Yes, it appears so because the buck stops on the table of Mr. President. But we all owe ourselves the duty to know exactly the factors precipitating these issues. At the base of it is corruption. If a president has approved a huge funding of the budget, where lies the responsibility to ensure that these projects are executed to the hills so that people can feel the impact, particularly in the areas of the zonal intervention project? It's with the National Assembly. Where they fail, the people lose. And that is what is affecting our nation. We had better come to terms with reality of our challenges rather than engage in the blame game so that we resolve our national crisis. The government is not about the executives. It's about the legislature. It's about the judiciary. So all hands must be on deck to realize this goal. Therefore, the legislature at both the federal and state levels has a most critical role to play in curbing insecurity. It must live up to its responsibility of oversight to ensure government at all levels judiciously apply public funds to the overall good of the people of Nigeria. In so doing, they will help mitigate the situation that breeds restiveness in society and thus reduce insecurity across the land. A nation cannot achieve any meaningful development in an atmosphere of strife. Without peace and amenity, there is no hope of national integration. Insecurity, as I mentioned earlier, contrived to tear us apart rather than bring us together. It is only in a safe and secure environment that the fusion of diverse political interests, ethnicity, and religious persuasions into an indissoluble union can be achieved. Youth have a great role to play in fostering this fusion and catalyzing national integration. Most advanced nations have a long-term sustainable youth plan with stretch goals. Nigeria is rich in human resources, most of which are youth. We have an abundance of brilliant, highly educated young people, experts in every discipline, young scholars, highly rated internationally, people who can compete with the best and the brightest across the globe. Oh yes, we have them in Nigeria. Yet, we have contrived to press them down and exclude them from governance and positions of responsibility, where they can bring their wealth of talent and expertise to bear to drive the process of our economic recovery. The pervasive nepotism emblematic of present-day Nigeria facilitates the exclusion of these brilliant young people and the elevation of mediocrity in the system. If we are to achieve our full potential as a nation, we must integrate our diversity into strengths. Youths are key to this national integration. The future belongs to them. Yes. They, therefore, have a larger stake in the Nigerian project. The sooner we wake up to these truths, the better for all of us. Without an enhanced capacity, they cannot drive the processes of national integration. Government at all levels must prioritize education and job creation. A large youth population without education or skills is a huge burden, not an asset. Once governments empower youth educationally, they can look to the tools that can be used for national integration. Tools such as sports, entertainment, music, film, the arts, ICT, etc. With its huge population, Nigeria has, I've been reminded, I was meant to talk for 20 minutes. All right. I'll try to go at jet or light speed. With its huge population, Nigeria has a great potential to be a global sporting superpower. We have an embarrassment of talent in every sport. Sadly, most of them will waste because of the neglect of sport. Gone are the days when schools catered to the intellectual and physical development of their students. Days when most schools had sports facilities. Days when school sports was at the center of sport development in Nigeria. Those days produced world champions like Mary Angeli. These days, most schools do not even have a football pitch. Those that had sporting facilities have converted them to other uses. Sport have the potential of creating employment for countless youth, fostering intercourse between youth from different states, different regions, different ethnicities, etc. If we develop our sports sector, it will also serve as a wealth creator in the sense that people will troop to sport arenas to pay and watch matches. This will generate income for sportsmen and women and increase government tax return and ultimately their internally generated revenue. The entertainment industry speaks for itself. It is a living registration of what young people can do. I want to, at this point, commend His Excellency Governor Yaya Bello. I see in recent time he's been engaging and interacting with a lot of people in this sphere of our national polity, which is encouraging. Well, since I have been reminded about time, I want to try as much as I can to be civil and gentlemanly. So on these notes, I'm going to make a copy of my submission available to the conveners of this colloquium. But on this note, I want to say that lifting youth out of poverty is not enough. They must not be excluded from governance at all levels. Governments and political parties must make it a policy to include a good fraction of youth in governance. Youth must have a say in how their country is run. I say their country because they are not only here today, they will be here tomorrow and the day after. Whereas most of our old leaders will only see today. And that's why they say the youth are the leaders of what? Tomorrow. It is therefore imperative to hear the voices of those who have a larger stake in the Nigerian project. Supporting youth to take position of responsibility in the government will unleash their great potentials and enable them to support the system by injecting new ideas into it. Ideas that are in tune with the contemporary realities of our time. Thankfully, by signing the Not Too Young to Run bill into law, President Muhammadu Buhari has laid the foundation for unhindered youth political participation. The coast is clear. Therefore, clear for every young Nigerian, male or female, who aspires for political office to plunge into the fray come 2023. The environment has never been better for youths to thrive politically. Some of us who got into the struggle at a tender age years ago, of course, those who followed my rerun election with Senator David Mark, former Senate President, you understand what I'm talking about. Some of us who got into the struggle at a tender age years ago had the door shut in our face. People in power use instruments of state coercion and compromise electoral officials to edge us out of the system until we ran out of time. I started in my 30s, and I'm way above that today. Undaunted, we plodded on, pushing against this element at every election cycle until we ran out of the youth brackets. Those who genuinely desire to make positive impacts on society and the nation should join a political party and vie for public office rather than stay afar and lament the state of affairs or engage in cancerous protests and agitations. How can you change the system when you are outside it? A lot of positive change is achieved from within. On this note, I have about a paragraph to go. I beg the organizers to allow me make my position on the agitation in Southeast. It will be a great disservice that I stand on this podium here and fail to enlighten some of our youths on the current situation. How am I permitted? Am I permitted? Are we democratically assembled? So let those who say I'm permitted say aye. Those against say nay. It's balanced, so the ayes have it. All right. The ayes have it. Now, those who have taken to violent agitation for whatever reason could have done better if they pursue their course within the established system. Resorting to war will solve nothing. It will only compound the issue and destroy that which they wish to preserve. Pushing the nation to the corpse of war is putting the lives of most Nigerians in jeopardy. We must all do whatever we must to protect and preserve the unity and corporate existence of this nation. Nigeria is the only country we have. I have had the opportunity to visit Liberia, Sierra Leone, and Ivory Coast, and saw how their civil wars devastated their country and their people. While I was the president of the West Africa Student Union, I had the opportunity of traveling around to these countries on peace missions and all of them. Young people who beat the drums of war should note that whatever you cannot obtain through peaceful means, you will not get it through war. All crises end up at a negotiation table, as a negotiating table. Most times, after countless lives are lost, while the government is urged to do more to curb the insecurity in the land. I'm calling on youths too should be patient with the government. Buying the divisive gospel of the protagonists of war and engaging in acts of criminality would distract the government from its effort to tackle the national security challenges. Violent agitation inevitably leads to the breakdown of law and order and creates a situation in which armed miscreants will take over command of communities and rule via their barrel of the gun. This will drag us back to time akin to Thomas Hobbes' state of nature, the survival of the fittest. On this note, so that I don't cross the line and bore the audience, I will reserve and save the ending part of this speech and then communicate it to the conveners. I believe they can put on soft copies to either a group on WhatsApp or any other social media platform. I want to especially thank all of you for your huge patience to listen to my very boring sermon, isn't it? And then thanks the organizers for putting this program together. And once again, congratulate Dr. Yaya Bello on his 46th birthday. I wish you many more happy returns in good health and prosperity. Thank you so much.
Please put your hands together for him. Board Chairman for the Project Development Institute, PRODA, Daniel Onje. You remember he was one time President of the West African Students Union. Thank you very much for doing a great job. We have a theater troupe all the way from Makodi. We will not be able to do that right about now. But because today is Friday, we'll go quickly through the speeches so that at an appropriate time, those who need to go to mosque will be going to the mosque. All right, so I want to, at this point, welcome one of our very senior scholars who is a prolific academic writer who has written and co-authored over 25 journal articles and book chapters. He has also participated and presented papers in several national and international workshops and conferences. He has equally held several leadership positions, and currently he is the postgraduate coordinator for the Department of Politics and Governance in Kwara State University. Let me welcome for his presentation a scholar and lecturer in the Department of Politics and Governance, Kwara State University in Kwara State, Dr. Salau Ibrahim Ogirima. Please put your hands together for him. Let me also add that he was one of the earliest to come here this morning. Please, can you clap for him properly?
Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I want to start by thanking the organizers for the composition of the kind of personalities and equally scholars that we have listened to today, right from the former presidential candidate, Mr. Akweya, Fashua, and other colleagues who have spoken. I also want to, before starting my intervention, say a big congratulations to the Executive Governor of Kogi State, my state, on his 46th birthday. I have listened to the immediate speaker. I listened attentively to the fact that, you know, in those days when people like Onje speaks, I saw the fact that the youth in him, he seemed to have abandoned the fact that he has an army of people who very much believe in him. Equally, Mr. Fashua also, you know, exonerated himself from being a youth anymore, you know. I want to correct the notion that when people cross the Rubicon provided by the Constitution, they should not abandon those that are within the age bracket. I want to define youth from the point of view of individuals, irrespective of your age bracket. If you are sympathetic to the fact that the energies and intellect, and intellectual mobility of younger people has a way, will contribute, has a multiplier effect on development, has a positive impact on development, you can be, irrespective of your age, be admitted into the youth bracket. So, Mr. OJ, you are still a youth. We will still want you there. Ladies and gentlemen, permit me to commence this intervention by stating the fact that socio-economic and political affairs in Nigeria's Fourth Republic have been feebly vying. This dissatisfaction, like other speakers have said, calls for constant interrogation and very deep introspection. Without having to bore you with already well-known elementary Nigerian political history, I will limit myself to the immediate past that will not require any oral tradition validation and referencing. Many of today's middle-aged Nigerians, and I think I fall within this category, must have witnessed the packaged withdrawal of the military from the body politic of the Nigerian state. The journey to democracy was something the military and the civil populace were able to build overwhelming consensus around. I doubt if any other national challenge has enjoyed similar levels of consensus ever since. The towering hope in the capacity of the ensuing democratic milieu to deliver the Nigeria of our dream was therefore not out of place. Our dream was very simple, very, very simple. A country where government at all levels will be able to transcend the primary responsibility of protecting lives and properties to one that guarantees what I call here shared prosperity. The cacophonic dissonance for the dismemberment of the Nigerian project, as we have it today, was not at that time this palpable. The emergent political elite rightly explored all channels of communication to infuse unbridled hope for a new Nigeria. Then when you just oppose this with the consensus and unison the clamor for civil democratic government enjoyed, no one could easily be singled out for blame. I'm talking about periods between 1998 and 1999 when all of us, all we wanted to hear was a civil government in a democratic, it was a democratic system of government, because we were just tired of the military junta then. On a personal note, I and some of my peers were equally not insusceptible from this heightened hope. And I'm stating a personal story here. Armed with a BSc certificate from the university then, in the early millennium, or what we call the new millennium then, I joined the services of one of the leading banks in Nigeria. Some of my peers also opted for the oil and gas industry without having to know anybody. I'm not saying in the year 70s, I'm saying 1999, just immediately after we had democratic government and pleased. I merely dropped my lean CV then, because when you are just out of the university and you go for job hunt, people still ask your CV. I say, what do they want to do other than your name? So the CV was very lean then. At the gatehouse of the head office of the bank, after a stint in banking, and I felt that the next thing is telecommunications, I merely also went to a leading telecommunication outfit in Nigeria, an indigenously owned one, who has a basket full of licenses. I think you all know the one that I'm talking, the one that has our national color, that I'm very proud of. Before finally settling for what I now do as an academic at the Ivory Tower, all these movements occurred within the first half of this republic without the proverbial godfather in the same Nigeria. Unfortunately, there has been a flip in the hope as to the capacity of the so-called democracy, in quote, to deliver the much-needed economic emancipation in recent times and years, which forms the basis for my earlier introspection. The reason is simple. Democracy as a model of government or governance has worked for countries in the metropolitan centers of the world and continues to offer hope to numerous youths and middle-aged professionals who daily hoard out of Nigeria for the much-touted golden fleece. Mr. Tokwe Fasua, in his earlier intervention, also alluded to this fact. Ladies and gentlemen, permit me to re-echo the fact that democracy still remains the best form of governance model. This, because it possesses an overarching, this is an overarching thesis in the lexicon of politics and political science generally. It is the form of government in which individual rights and freedoms are best guaranteed. The seeming frustration out here in Nigeria merely stems from the obvious infirmity of the operators of the democratic architecture. This is further compounded by a constitutional framework that places less emphasis on quality and capacity in the selection process of our governing elite. In this process, hands-on experience, intellectualism, emotional intelligence, and most importantly, sense of nationalism seem to have been discountenanced in all avenues and mechanisms for leadership selection. This partly explains the heave of despair, poverty, and insecurity in the land. At this juncture, I want to give kudos to the organizers of this colloquium. The smart awakening of weaving this lofty initiative into a special day like this to advance national discourse on what I call poignant national issues geared towards moving the nation forward is commendable. No doubt, Governor Yahya Bello has assumed a brand to be leveraged upon in advancing this noble cause. Permit me to also state clearly that all my years on earth, I do not have and had never in any capacity met the governor before. I merely have watched, and I must say with delight, since he was divinely thrusted into the murky waters of Nigerian politics. Frankly speaking, as a political scientist with a flair for policy analysis, I initially dispelled him for another flash in the pan. However, my heritage as an original Ibira boy and now man, living in diaspora will not let me be. On his assumption of office, I took up the challenge of penning what I titled then 100 Days Quick Wins, and dispatched the memo through some channels, which I later understood never got to him, but I have learned today to channel it through, the Better Man compendium that was launched. It's been channeled through the lead organizer of today. So next time, I will not make the mistake I made, and I'll probably channel it through to the Director of Finance and Accounts, Local Government, and Chieftaincy Matters here present. I was later what I reclined to monitoring his activities through the media and first-hand public opinion, especially from family members living in Kogi State. I also complemented this personal observation when I occasionally visit my retired aged parents at home. The jury is still out there. However, if reports of some credible and local international development partners are anything to go by, especially in the area of balanced infrastructural development, rural development, and security, Governor Yahya Bello will be unbeatable. Ladies and gentlemen, I must also reiterate the subjecting the leadership style and heroics of Governor Yahya Bello to analysis can be quite chancy amongst a section of Nigerians who merely retain the traditional media and social media as their only authentic tools and sources of analysis for mere polemic reasons. Without denying the value of those sources, my experience would not allow me to resort to being an armchair theorist and genuflecting for polemic pleasures. And this is why I have gone a step further. By creating a framework which I earlier highlighted, that is, hands-on experience, intellectualism, emotional intelligence, and most importantly, because today we are talking of national integration, sense of nationalism. It will be most auspicious at this stage to apply my construct to real-life situation. To this end, you will agree with me that it is a rarity in contemporary Nigeria to find a seasoned personality who will willingly abandon the allure of rapid career growth in the public sector for a chancy foray into private business and making a huge success of it. Talk less of adding another 8 years at subnational leadership as governor. This puts Governor Yahaya Bello ahead of his peers and succinctly fulfills the first criteria of possessing hands-on experience. Also, the challenge of galvanizing the people towards navigating the void in democratic governance in a highly plural subnational political entity like Kogi State requires unmatched intellect. This has been reinforced by tactful navigation and resentment of the bandwagon opinion surrounding the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic. Despite the barrage of criticisms, Governor Yahaya Bello was able to engage both local and international community, especially China, where COVID-19 was said to have broken out, and her allies in the West to admit their ignoble roles in the management of the pandemic and prodding them to support developing nations like Nigeria in its eradication. Pure skills, pure intellect, and emotional intelligence at its best. Above all, the bridge-building role of Governor Yahaya Bello in the annals of Nigeria's recent political history cannot be overemphasized. The APC as a party was smart to have deployed what I call their WizKid for the recent national membership drive registration. He literally became the face of the exercise. I believe you agree with me. These are pointers to the much-needed capacity to revamp the much-needed shared prosperity. Remember where I started from? Shared prosperity, which I initially canvassed. Simple as it sounds, shared prosperity across the nation will go a long way to reducing the current ethnic tensions, irredentist claims, insecurity, self-determination, and strife, and positively impact national security, which today, you will agree with me, is at its lowest ebb. This will also go a long way to dousing other negative forces, pulling the nation towards the precipice. Conclusively, it is an indisputable fact that politics and ascension to the highest political office in Nigeria today has been negatively skewed for too long against the Nigerian youth. No thanks to St. Augustine's divine command theory, a youth has emerged as the shining light from the north central of Nigeria, if you like. It will be incongruous for a nation that has gone through this myriad of crises and still written in monumental socio-economic and political contradiction, not to latch on to the idea of a youth-led Federal Republic of Nigeria. I admonish that the youth should no longer be content with the paltry role of merely shaking the table, shaking the proverbial political table, and later settle for the crumbs in compliance with the will and caprices of our well-known gerontocrats across party lines. Our next outing as youth must begin with a shift in paradigm that champions the cause of a level playing field. And when I say this, I'm talking across party lines, to harness talents. Although, for this purpose and for the purpose of today, some of these talents are already embedded in Governor Yahya Bello. There is no better time than now. It is time for Nigeria to rise again, and rise we shall. GYB has it. He can do it. Happy birthday, Mr. Governor. Long life Kogi State. Long live Nigeria. And thank you very much.
I'd give anything.
Thank you very much for that presentation. We appreciate you, sir. Can we give him another round of applause? I'll also want to inform us that we have two quick presentations, and then we will go for lunch. That's just to tell us that there's a whole lot to do today. But if you notice, the first presenter actually shared with us some thoughts around corruption. And it says, in solving our problems in Nigeria, we need to work around anti-corruption. And that's one big issue we need to solve. I'll tell you something about it later. But as our guest speaker is a lecturer, and he shared with us before that his teaching and his experience has also grown to some extent. I will not want to tell you some experience I've had with him. But I also taught English in some class before, teaching undergraduate students creative writing. So one day I just got into the class and I told them, I say, just assume that you are in a war situation and write a short story from your experience. I noticed that every other person was writing except one boy in front. So I asked him, I said, why are you not writing? I told you to assume that you're in a war situation and write a short story from your experience. And the boy looked at me and said, sir, honestly, I died as soon as the war started. So there's nothing to write in my story. You know, so working as an English scholar, we were talking about which language should we choose for Nigeria. Should we choose the American English or should we choose the British English? It was hard. After 3 weeks in a workshop in Akweya, we couldn't choose one. Because, for instance, in Britain you'll say extreme, in America you'll say end, and here you'll say extreme end. In America, you'll say short. In Britain, you'll say knicker, but here you'll say. In Britain, you'll say salon. In America, you'll say barber shop, but here we'll say barbing. In Britain, you'll say bend. In America, you'll say corner, but here you'll say bending. In Britain, you'll say so. In America, you'll say therefore, but here you'll say so. In Britain, you'll say still. In America, you'll say yet, but here you'll say. In Britain, you'll say henceforth. In America, you'll say from now on, but here you'll say from now. In Britain, you'll say reverse. In America, you'll say turn back, but here you'll say reverse. In Britain, you'll say tell me the reason. In America, you'll say tell me why, but here you'll say tell me the reason. I think you should clap for the people coming next. I needed to put you in a small mood so that you can enjoy the next performance. because it's a dance, it's a beautiful dance. They came all the way from Makurdi to do this. It's a cat dance merged into the Swange dance. So ladies and gentlemen, if your hands are not too busy, put them together as we welcome the Ebony Theatre. Please, can we clap for them?
Ya yang ulu tu tere, bawa ye patuga bebe yo. Ya yang ulu tu tere, bawa ye patuga bebe yo. Ya yang ulu tu tere, bawa ye patuga bebe yo. Oh, I will go away. Yo, yo. Yo, yo. Oh. Ngwe banga, ngwe banga, ngwe banga, ngwe banga, ngwe banga. Ngwe banga, ngwe banga, ngwe banga, ngwe banga, ngwe banga, ngwe banga. Wagba ma o gaba tolo sanjo, yogo zo ma o gaba himbankwa, tuwetse ga kopa ilu hinganga, tuwetse ga kopa ilu hinganga. Eba ka ome hone ko tuwetse adonia, eba ka ome pasne ko tuwetse adonia. Tuwetse le yange hoba, tuwetse le yange fibaina, tuwetse le yange nenye mula. Oh, na yesu ezana, yange. Wagba ma o gaba to sanjo, yogo zo ma o gaba himbakwa, tuwetse ga kopa ilu hinganga, tuwetse ga kopa ilu hinganga. Eba ka ome hone ko tuwetse adolia, eba ka ome pasne ko tuwetse adolia. Tuwetse yange hoba, tuwetse yange fibaina, tuwetse yange de gaton. Oh, na yesu ezana yaga. Talo, I want Talo. Talo, I want Talo. Wow. 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 Tuwasazawani kahorunga, oane tabuako hembe yama. Kayo basho akwabe. Oh yo kago hoko oh mani shabu le zakagba oh yo kago hoko oh mani shabu le zakagba oh yo kago hoko oh mani shabu le zakagba aya 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 anya dia anya dia anya dia anya dia ya sabe kayeka ya sabe ka aba chechi wa de shate bege meya ya de shaya de ya ke boge gume ka ola ya yo ame ya sa yo do so shate bege meya wa I am a push, oh, I haga. I said, I will go to oh, I haga. Bello! I was on now, okay, ide jale kondo ya ide jale kwa ya na odo wase shimala ayo kwa sana odo odo akwa number one sabelo number one bello number one sabelo number one kawe se de Kogi, kawe te de ho Kogi number one, Babelo number one, Sabelo number one, kawe te de ho Nigeria, kawe te de ho Nigeria. One, Alhaji Bello. One, Kabelo. Wegodi Kabelo. Kabelo. Nigeria Kabelo. Alhaji Bello, number one. Yaguta me guare taba guagada. Guagada me guare taba guagada. Guagada me guare taba guagada. Guagada me guare taba guagada. Aeja. 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 Wah. Wah. Oh! Wah! 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 Wah!
Thank you. Please put your hands together for them. Thank you very much. They came all the way from Makodi to do this for us, and they have more to share with us today. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, we also have a performance poet who will be doing something later, and we have speakers who will be talking to us as we move. The next item, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I want to invite the one who had started the speech earlier and giving him the honor to come here despite his busy schedule to conclude it. Let me therefore welcome Dr. Arome Salifu, who is the founder and executive director of the Africa Youth Growth Foundation. Please put your hands together for him. And we sincerely appreciate you for agreeing to come, despite every other thing that you had to do today. But thank you very much for coming here to be a part of this. I think it deserves another round of applause.
Good afternoon, everyone. I had to leave my house to be here because I was pretty afraid the network wasn't going to be favorable. I think I already started the presentation, but physically present with you, courtesy demands that I lay the proper foundation, for my presentation. His Excellency, the Executive Governor of Kogi State, Governor Yaya Bello, his entire executive members that are present, the dignitaries that are present at this auspicious occasion, ladies and gentlemen, I wish once again to congratulate His Excellency on his 46th birthday celebration. You like him or not, there are certain things you cannot take away from Governor Yaya Bello. He's a courageous young man, a dogged fighter, a man that can see tomorrow from today. I'm from Kogi State, and when he emerged the governor of Kogi State, a lot of us were quite elated that for the first time a young man would occupy that office. Our spirits were high and were quite hopeful that our state finally would experience development in the right proportion. Some of us are not carried away by ethnic, religious, or tribal sentiments. I see Bello as one of such persons, one of such young persons in the society. When he emerged, the manner through which he recruited his commissioners, his special advisors, and other critical staff, he will agree with me that truly Governor Yabelo is a detribalized Nigerian. I have no political connection whatsoever with Governor Yabelo. As a matter of fact, I've never met him one-on-one. He's a friend to a friend, just the same way I have many friends within the APC. My political leaning and understanding does not warrant or permit me to create enemies even when there's no need for one, particularly on a special occasion as that of birthday celebration. In brotherhood we stand, and so we celebrate with whoever is celebrating, regardless of political leaning or political differences. I therefore once again want to congratulate His Excellency on his birthday, and of course, extending the same birthday congratulations to his daughter on her 90th, on her 9th birthday. So, going straight to the conversation, I promise to be brief and rapid because of time and because I know you have a whole lot lined up for today's occasion. Foundationally speaking, the youth population is the bedrock of any society, just like I earlier stated during my online presentation. Any society that ignores her youth population is doomed. As a matter of fact, what we are seeing today, what we are experiencing today, the level of youth poverty, the level of youth unemployment, the level of restiveness, the foundation for what we are seeing today was laid almost over 4 decades ago. The harvest, the fruits of failure of leadership many years ago and manifesting today. We must, of course, agree with some obvious realities. The current government has its fair share of the blame, just the same way it has its fair share of the responsibility. But let us not be fooled. The Boko Haram you see today, the insurgents, the bandits, the kidnappers, and all other social ills you see today, the seeds were planted many, many years ago. The same way the seeds we are harvesting today were planted many years ago, what we plant today matters a lot. The kind of seed we plant or we are planting right now as we speak would germinate in the next 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years down the line. And that is why we must take our destiny into our own hands and take it seriously in all its ramifications. In retrospect, Nigeria wasn't always like this. Some time ago, we went to see the Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs on one of our projects on migration. And we're discussing why Nigerians are leaving this country. And he said something. He said when they graduated many years ago, the only reason they had to travel out of this country was because they had to go and spend holiday. And they had no reason whatsoever to stay back one more second in such a country because they had everything they needed in Nigeria. The situation is no longer the same today. Where did we miss it? I want every one of us to reflect deeply. How did we miss it? And where did we miss it? Because before you can get yourself, before you can retrace your steps, you must know where you missed the road. Otherwise, you might be struggling and you might end up not getting to your destination even at the end of the day. As a country, we must reflect, where did we miss it? So, permit me to take us back to some historical, angles in this conversation. The governance system is central to the development of any society. The governance system is the core central point of delivering the leadership and the kind of results the people need to advance their social, their economic, and even political destinies. As a country, we are practicing democracy, but a unique kind of democracy. A democracy where it's not necessarily about the power and the will of the people, but it's about the power and the will of the guns and those that have the money and the resources. It bastardizes, neutralizes, and makes nonsense of the very definition of democracy, which of course states clearly that democracy is the government of the people, by the people, and for the people. The kind of democracy we practice today in Nigeria cannot be described as such. We all know what happened in this country during elections. We know what happened in America. We know what happened in Britain. We know what happened in Europe when they conduct elections. Why should our own story be different? Because our leadership recruitment process is the very foundation to guarantee good and meaningful governance and leadership. And I want to say this. God forbid that any of us get blinded by your political, tribal, ethnic emotions and sentiment. Because as a matter of fact, we will go nowhere, we will end up nowhere as long as we are blinded by such sentiments. For us to get it right, we must tell ourselves the truth, nothing but the truth, for us to get it right. Until we get our political and leadership recruitment process right, we cannot go or get to any point that we so desire. Why am I saying that? We are looking at electoral reform, for instance. The National Assembly, as we speak, has refused to take necessary step, action, to amend the current Electoral Act. And we all know that the current Electoral Act cannot deliver credible election in this country. For us to get it right, for us to give a gift, a legacy for our future generation to come and enjoy good governance, the current National Assembly must be bold, courageous enough to do the needful and amend the current Electoral Act for this country. And that Mr. President should rise to the occasion and sign the amended Electoral Act whenever it arrives on his table. That is the kind of legacy we want to see. That is the kind of promises we want to be kept. And that is the kind of country we want to live in. When there is hope, everybody will be part of the process to contribute to providing the kind of solution that we want to see. But as long as there's no hope, every other person would want to leave this country and seek a better alternative elsewhere. God forbid that every one of us would get to that point that the only option we have is to begin to look for visa to leave this country. To be honest with you, our best hope in this country lies with young people. And on this premise, I want to thank Governor Yabelo for opening the eyes of young people, for setting the pace that indeed you can contend with the elders and still emerge victorious, regardless of your age. When Governor Yabelo stepped out to contest governorship election in Kogi State, he contested the primaries with the late Abubakar Audu of blessed memory. If you know the political strength, popularity of Governor Abubakar Audu as at that time, you will know that at that time, Governor Yabelo was indeed a courageous man. As destiny will have it, the rest is history. But today, we have the youngest governor in Nigeria in the person of Governor Yabelo, just because of courage, charisma, and vision. So also, we expect of every young person in this country to discountenance the odds and rise to the occasion, to take responsibility, and indeed, not complain, and agonize, but indeed to organize and engage within the political process. But in organizing yourself and engaging within the political process, there are some fundamentals. We know young people have the energy, they have the intellect, they have the innovation, they have the charisma. But beyond that, they need preparation. It's not about the age alone. It's about the understanding of leadership, the values you need to succeed in leadership. I can tell you that Obama succeeded as American president not just because of his age, but he was well prepared ahead of his time.